Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Hometown TCG. My name is Josh,
My name's Derek.
and we are here with a very special event, guys. I'm here with Derek. Derek is a two-time, back-to-back Road to Nationals champion. If you had a championship belt, you could hold it up right now. That would be pretty sick.
I guess I kind of do, don't I?
Oh, yeah, there you go. Hold up that championship belt, baby. See, I'm loving this. And we are going to do something very special. Derek is going to introduce me to a hero that I have little to no experience playing, guys. I haven't gotten the chance to get behind a Katsu deck and really give it a shot. So today, I'm going to get some coaching from the man himself, Mr. 17-0. So Derek, let's get to know you. Tell us a little about yourself.
Well, the 17-0 is a little bit of some clickbait. I played another event this last weekend where I lost in top 8. So
yeah, 17-0 up to that point.
Correct. Yeah. So 22-2 now, but couldn't get the three-peat. I just love this Aggro Katsu deck. I think it's super good in the meta right now. I think it does really well into chain, which a lot of people struggle with right now. And I think a lot of people could benefit from learning how to play this deck to play it themselves, maybe, or I think it's going to be more popular coming up. Okay. So knowing how to play against it is also super important, I think, coming soon.
All right, so that's kind of what we're aiming to do here. But not only are you kind of featured here, but recently you expanded and kind of did an article or a little piece on this Katsu deck, correct?
Yeah, that's right. I put that up on Wraith Times.
Okay.
It was just a piece about kind of block threat and how some cards are probably more threatening than they seem, and how to get the maximum out of your card advantage by blocking at the correct time was most of the article.
So we'll put a link in the video description of where you can find that article. I got a chance to read it today, and that article was awesome. I feel like that prepped me for this coaching session, so I'm not going in completely blind. Your article might have spoiled a couple of your own coaching tips for me, so I'm excited to check that out. But let's dig into this list here that we're going to be playing today. We got, we see our hero and equipment here. Everything pretty standard. The Heart and Cross Strap, just to me, that's one thing that sticks out. Is that pretty standard in Katsu builds?
I do think most Aggro Katsu lists are playing it. Kieran played it at the charity tournament about a month and a half ago, I'd say, just before the Road to National season. And I really like that idea. He plays it mostly against chain, just when you need to race to 0. That's most of that game. And you really can't draw a bad hand. And in Aggro Katsu, all red hands are pretty plentiful because you run so many reds in the deck.
Okay.
And on those all red hands, Heart and Cross Trap still lets you play your Surging Strikes or Command and Conquers.
Okay. So I like the tech. I dig it. We're going to kind of go down this list here. We got equipment a little bit out of order. The rest of it seems to be pretty standard. The one thing you mentioned is this race to 0, this concept of you're racing chain to 0, you're racing the other decks to 0. And with that concept, I'm noticing a lack of null rune here.
Yeah, it's right. I never really want to be in a position where I pitch to defend myself from null rune.
Okay.
Even against chain, it does turn on some of their cards like Meet and Greet or Rip Through Reality, for example. But there's just no space for it. I'd rather have a Breaking Scales or my Snapdragon Scalers or my Cross Trap. I'd never get rid of Mask of Momentum. That card's incredible.
Yes.
And like I said, the deck has so many reds. It's really tough to even pitch for Arcane anyways. You really don't want to do it with a red. So
okay. All right. So that's just what stuck out to me. The equipment rolling down. Would you say, just as a quick overview, is this a pretty standard Aggro Katsu list? Is there any special spice we're looking for in here?
Yeah, it is pretty standard. The only other Aggro Katsu list that's been popular recently runs the new package from Monarch, the Belittle Middoism package. Some people like that in Katsu. I do think it's more suited against control decks like Bravo, for example. Where you have some more time to set up and you have some more time to get the right cards in your hand to be able to play that Belittle and go grab your Minnoism.
Okay.
But I think right now the meta is a little too aggressive for it to be worth it. So I do not include that.
Okay, and I love that you have shifted this kind of to the meta and the decks you're playing against. Instead of going with this blanket approach, you're really focused on kind of at least what you're playing against. And let's be honest, it's working. I mean, back to back, you know what I'm saying? So going down, what combo lines are present in this deck?
So the two main ones on the right side of the screen starts with Surging Strike.
Hmm.
I place 6 in the deck. I think the card is absolutely incredible. One of the best cards in the deck.
Okay.
That Surging Strike is followed up by the Whelming Gust Wave, the Mugenshi release, and the Lord of Wind.
Okay.
We can go through that at a separate time.
Sure.
The other important line in this deck is the Leg Tap, Rising Knee, Hurricane Technique.
Okay. So let's see if I can find leg tap in here. You can keep going while I'm looking.
Cool. And then I play a third one, which is not as prevalent as the other two, and that would be the Soul Bead Strike, Crane Dance, Find Center.
Okay.
To get that Zen State token in some important matchups like Chain, for example.
Sure. Zen State tokens against Chain would be absolutely incredible. So that would be. Did you pull one off in the Road to Nationals?
Yeah, both finals games that I won, I actually won with a Find Center. They were both against Chain, so.
Okay. So it sounds like you got this down to a science. And then before we get into gameplay, let's talk a couple things that I'm going to want to look for and what you're going to look for from me out of this coaching session. What do you kind of have in mind?
I think something we may not cover a whole lot just due to some time is probably sideboarding. I really wish we could get to that. I do have a sideboarding guide available on the article I wrote. If you link it below, everyone can check that out. I really think it's important in Flesh and Blood to not only copy a sideboard guide and just take the cards out that it tells you to. I really think you should understand why. And to do that takes a lot of experience. That experience we can't go obtain through just this video. So
right, you can't inject that experience into the player. But I love the fact that the guide's out there. We will, like we said before, link that video in the description. But until then, I mean, I'm absolutely pumped. It's a deck I've been excited to play. I got to watch you play it a lot. It looks like it takes a ton of skill. There's a million decision points along the way. So I can't wait. Let's get into the game.
Cool.
All right, guys. So we are into the game here. And we have our opponent, Dennis. Dennis, what are you playing today?
Chain.
All right, so Dennis is on an aggro chain list. We're playing Aggro Katsu. We got Derek here, and the setup is Derek can hear me, but Dennis cannot hear Derek, and I can hear Derek as well. So we're gonna kind of get into this game. We're gonna roll and play it as a real game. I'm pretty excited. Let's do this. Go ahead and roll, Dennis. All right, so Derek, ideally, do we want to go first or second?
Yes, against Chain,
12.
We would love to win this die roll.
Okay,
Yeah,
we won this die roll. I'm assuming we're going second. Is that correct?
No, we're gonna go first.
We're gonna elect to go first.
Okay.
I'll explain that real quick while we draw up.
Yep.
Mostly that's to deny Chain his first Soul Shackle.
Okay.
They can build up really fast, especially if he goes first, and just denying them, even when the game is so short, is really important. Our hand's looking pretty good too.
Okay, so we're ready to get started here, Dennis. I'm gonna go ahead and start my first turn. So
Go for it.
we got this interesting turn, and to me, what sticks out already, Derek, is we have early combo pieces right off the bat, but I'm not sure if first turn is the time to be laying those on the field.
That's correct.
Okay.
They are super important in this matchup.
Okay.
Wasting them on turn one when he can block with essentially no consequence is usually not a super good idea. In this matchup, we don't get our first Tunic counter because we're not playing it.
Okay.
But we do get to filter our hand if we elect to do so. And
Sure.
we can do that through just attacking with Kodachis.
So my thought process here, and tell me if I'm correct, is I'm going to pitch Crane Dance. I'm going to go Kodachi, Soul Bead Strike, possibly Razor Reflex it to put the leg tap in the arsenal.
I think that is how most people would play this scenario.
All right.
I tend to not do a whole lot on the first turn, actually.
Okay.
It sounds counterintuitive, but leaking through damage is pretty tough on the first turn when blocks are so easy to make in the first turn.
Okay.
We really don't want... Our hand is actually pretty good. this Soul Bead Strike, this leg tap, this Razor Reflex, all super important for our next turn. And the Crane Dance is going to let us do all of that by being a blue. We don't want to like pitch this blue and
then not get one.
There's not so many in the deck. Yeah, we would love to not draw.
So you're suggesting that we pass, it sounds like.
I think so. I think this hand is strong enough where we can kind of just pass here.
Okay.
We can arsenal the leg tap since it just blocks for 2. It just kind of opens up our options in terms of blocking if we absolutely need to.
So Dennis, I will arsenal and pass.
Okay.
Dennis, I hope you're as confused as I am because I got an explanation that makes sense now, but at the time it was new. So go ahead. First turn for Chain.
All right. Let's take a look here.
This draw is pretty good. If I'm
we are going to pitch to create a rune chant.
So already
We're going to
that
create
no
a
arcane
soul shackle
might come back to bite us, but I'm trusted in the coach.
And we are going to Consuming Volition for 1 with an arcane. If the arcane hits and Consuming Volition hits, you have to discard a card.
All right, so we got Consuming Volition flying at us. We already don't like that, I assume.
Yes, that's true. This card is super annoying.
Yes.
And is essentially the reason we arsenaled our leg tap. So we have less block 2s in our hand, just more options to block with.
Sure.
The Whelming Gustwave that we drew is probably the least valuable card in our hand.
Okay.
We don't have a way to enable the combo on it. We don't have a Surging Strike. Because this attacks for 4, we would probably want to block with a Whelming Gustwave and our Breaking Scales already.
Okay.
Just to preserve cards in our hand.
That's what I was thinking. We'll block with Whelming Gustwave and Breaking Scales.
Okay. And then you're taking the arcane?
Yes. Yes, taking the arcane.
Okay. And then we will Enlighten Strike for 7.
Now, this is that raw damage. Again, I kind of cheated a little bit. I read your article, and we're talking about the importance of cards to block. Enlighten Strike for 7 is pretty low on that list. I know it's early in the game. I'm tempted to take this 7.
Yeah, I actually can't see. He doesn't have another card in his hand, right? It was the pitch, Consuming Volition, E strike to the bottom, right?
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, this one not super threatening to me. Taking 7, not a huge deal. And knowing he doesn't get an arsenal card for the next turn, we feel really good about that so far.
Okay. So take 7 here.
Okay.
Yep.
And we'll end my turn. Pass to you.
All right. So we're going on to our turn. I'm looking. He's got no arsenal cards. We're wondering, and we have leg tap here. And Katsu's power reads: once per turn, when an attack action card hits, you may discard a card with cost 0. If you do, search your deck for a combo, banish it face up, and I can shuffle my deck. I can play it this turn. So the only target that I think is viable is this Soul Bead Strike to be discarding. Is that correct?
That's right.
Okay, so we probably want to start the turn with leg tap or Kodachi. I feel like with the pressure, we want to Kodachi leg tap and force him to try to block something. Is that true?
I think it's a really good idea. The only thing that kind of changes that decision in my mind is having this Razor Reflex and possibly needing that extra resource. So if we can kind of map out this turn, if we pitch our Crane Dance, attack with a single Kodachi, and then we leg tap, we can still Razor Reflex the leg tap to make sure it hits, even over blocks. And in that case, we can discard our Soul Bead Strike to go get a Rising Knee Thrust.
Okay.
Card with combo that follows leg tap. And then because of our Mask of Momentum, if he lets our first Kodachi hit, our Razor Reflex hits with our leg tap, then our Rising Knee Thrust is threatening to draw a card off our Mask of Momentum to put into our arsenal for the next turn to have 5 again.
Perfect. So let's see how that plays out. We'll pitch Crane Dance here to Kodachi for 1.
I will
2
take
float.
1. No box.
Leg tap from Arsenal. 1 float.
So for 4.
For 4. I feel like we're putting him in a very tough decision right now. I'm already, just with that line that
no
you put in my
blocks.
head, it's making me uncomfortable from his perspective. So he said no blocks here. We would like to, I assume, trigger Katsu at this point then.
Yes.
So I'll trigger Katsu. Katsu is discard, correct?
Correct. Discard, and then you can search your deck for a card with combo.
Search. And I'll get a Rising Knee Thrust.
Correct. Preferably a red.
And I get to I can banish it, and then I can play it this turn. So I'll banish the Rising Knee Thrust.
Yep.
Okay. This does it cost? Does Rising Knee Thrust cost one? I can't even see.
No, it's cost 0.
It does not.
Cost zero. All right. So Rising Knee Thrust for 5.
Okay. All right. So I took 4 off of that one.
Yeah, this is the line I got to tell you, Derek. I would not have seen. I would have Kadachi'd and then
yeah,
gone.
We're gonna say no blocks.
Yeah, and with him saying no blocks, your line actually might have been better than mine. Mine just leaves it more open to
It's more versatile.
Razor Reflex over blocks. Yeah, that's right.
So Mask of Momentum will trigger here.
Yep.
I'll draw. We do draw the Crane Dance here.
Okay.
We have 1 pitch remaining. Are we looking to Kadachi and then just end the turn? Or are we trying to... You said a race to 0, but I also know I want to hold resources for the next turn, so...
Yeah, that's true. I think the last resource could be spent on a Kadachi, and then we can just follow up with the Crane Dance. I think saving the Razor Reflex for a more opportune moment is probably the right decision.
Okay.
It does leave us open a little bit more to Command and Conquer if you happen to have drawn it, but that's okay.
Dennis, second Kadachi for 1.
No blocks.
No reactions. And then a Crane Dance.
For 3.
For 3.
Does it do anything else special? It looks
No,
like...
it doesn't. It's off Soul. It's the combo line off Soul Bead Strike. So no, I don't believe so.
Okay. Yeah, I guess
think
I'm already committed. I'll
either
take
Control
3.
or Alt shows the card in full view.
Alt shows the card in full view. Great tip, Derek. Thank you. So we'll end the chain there, Dennis, and it's your. And we'll arsenal the last card in our hand, and it's your go.
Okay. Flip for Blood Debt, and it's an Enlightened Strike, so that will go to Banish.
So he flipped an Enlightened Strike, so we're feeling pretty good about that.
Yep,
We
love
are
to see it.
going to.
I love to see
play
this
Art of
because
War.
Snatch with Enlightened Strike or Snatch with Razor Reflex is good.
This hand is
Yellow
foul.
Seeds.
Well, we're
we're
gonna
gonna
control our
pick,
life total here and get down below him a little bit. So Scar for a Scar will
We're gonna
have go
pick
again.
+1/+1 and banish to draw 2. We're gonna banish, draw 2.
Are you looking at using the Heart and Cross Trap here?
I think so. I think
Okay.
having both of these zeros available to potentially get a Whelming Gust.
Get a Whelming
We are
Gust Wave.
going to.
Okay. But then how does we'd have to pay for him against your release with the remaining 0?
That's right.
So don't you just think he'll eat the Whelming Gust Wave with Husk?
It's possible. And if
Not
we see a
working out
Husk on
very
this
well.
early, I'm pretty happy about it anyways.
Okay. We're gonna have to take some damage to make this happen. It's terrifying staring down chain doing nothing.
Especially with an Art of War.
Did I miss anything, Dennis? Or are you just still making decisions?
No, I'm still making decisions.
You're fine. I'm sorry. I was talking with Derek and I wanted to make sure I wasn't slow playing you.
No, you're fine.
All right. So
I
this is
still got
very
one
interesting.
pitch
Yeah, Art of War. He
floating
did pick +1,
here.
so the damage is coming, and presumably he's got enough sources of go again in the hand right now.
Yeah, seeing
Um,
a Shadow Puppetry here would be really scary.
See, I would think Shadow
this is,
Puppetry or
kind of an
second
awkward
Consuming
draw,
Volition
so
would be terrifying.
That's true.
I think the
Yep.
best thing to do
Fortunately, he did banish
is
one to
to
his Art of
use
War,
the
so
one pitch
Yes.
He doesn't
floating
have
to
another.
come in with a flock.
It was
for
blue,
6,
the one he banished.
revealing a blue seeds.
So, all right. So no Soul Shackle made here or anything.
No Soul Shackle.
Would you like to make Soul Shackle?
I would. I forgot.
Okay, that's fine. So he's going to make Soul Shackle, and then he's going to flock. The Soul Shackle won't give flock go again, but I'm sure he wants it for the gas.
Right.
No blocks.
Okay. So taking 6.
Yes, taking 6. Any reactions on your part?
No reactions. So I'll have the Quicken token there, and then
So ideally for us, that was a
put a card in
fantastic turn
Arsenal.
because very
Yeah,
little.
I love it.
That was a pretty weak
Get
Art of
rid of the
War
Art
turn.
of War. I don't want to see them on even more explosive turns. He does have the Quicken token and the Arsenal set up for next turn, so we're kind of afraid of next turn.
Right.
But
Your go.
we'll worry about it when it comes.
But Scar First Card does not have go again.
26 all.
Correct.
So do we start the turn with Surging Strike?
I think that's correct to me. Yes.
Okay. We're gonna break Hardened Cross Trap to get 2 pitch.
For your Surging Strike.
Yes, for my Surging Strike.
All right.
It's
Red
funny that he
Surging
knew.
Strike.
Apparently he's played this matchup before.
Yep. And like I said, his next turn is really scary with the Quicken token and the Arsenal. So if he wants to block this with cards from hand, I feel really good about it anyway.
We are going to
Clean up my pitch from last
husk.
turn. Okay, so he husks here.
Okay.
So what are we looking at?
All right. So now that he's husked and stopped us from getting our Whelming Gust Wave and finishing our Mugenshi release here,
Mm-hmm.
I really want to look in these situations to try to find a way to trigger Mask of Momentum.
Yes.
And try to squeeze as much value out of that as possible.
So we do have the Razor and Arsenal. We just are
do.
a bit low on pitch. So in my mind, I don't know, maybe it's up to you. Is it too early to be breaking Snapdragon Scalers?
It might be.
Okay.
The fact that we do have the Razor Reflex does make me not want to break my Snapdragon Scalers.
Sure.
I don't think there's like a super good way to trigger Mask Momentum this turn, unfortunately. But if we consider this line, maybe we can play our Snatch, assume that with a Razor Reflex, we can still hit.
Sure.
That gives us go again from Razor Reflex. It gives us a card draw off Snatch to then reevaluate maybe what we can do next after that.
Sure. My thought line was maybe even pitch Scar for a Scar, Kadachi, Snatch, pitch the Mugenshi release to Razor Reflex was my thought, and then play off what we draw there. But I think your line is probably a little more consistent.
Yeah, I think it just gives us maybe a little more flexibility after the Snatch with what we do.
All right. I'll play Snatch. Are we when we're still pitching the Mugenshi release to play the Razor Reflex here for the versatility, or are we pitching the Scar for a Scar and keeping the Mugenshi release in the arsenal?
I think it's probably best to
Let's say no blocks.
pitch the Mugenshi release,
That's what I was thinking. Okay.
just in case we draw a card with like 1 cost, perhaps.
I'll react Razor Reflex.
Okay. Take 7.
I'll draw 1. So we did draw Torrent of Tempo, which seems pretty good here.
Absolutely. This is exactly why I wanted to pitch that Mugenshi release instead. We have that extra resource to now play our Torrent of Tempo.
Yep.
That was
so
a great
now,
draw.
Yep. So now we're going here, Torrent of Tempo. Torrent of Tempo, none floating. Hit, go again. So it looks like we are going to get some equipment here and a single card from his hand.
Block 6.
Okay.
All right.
Yep. A block for 6. We get 2 Battle Worn counters out of this. I love that. Scar for a Scar is going to be more useful in our arsenal for next turn. We're most likely going to be lower on life with this Quicken token and these 2 Soul Shackles. So Snapdragons, the Torrent of Tempo is probably not the right play here.
That's what I was thinking. I was thinking the same thing as you were. All right, Dennis, I'll end the turn.
All right.
We
Red
get a-
Seeds and a Red Ghostly.
Seeds and Ghostly. Ugh. So his
Yeah.
vanishes he did hit, which this deck tends to fail at.
So let's see what we're gonna do here.
So this is an interesting hand here.
We are going to.
And he's got.
Yeah, it is interesting.
He does have 3 cards in hand.
Start off with a Seeds of Agony
Okay.
Okay.
blue.
That's
Arsenal
not bad.
being a seeds is a little bit of a good sign.
Yes, it means there might not be a ton of gas from the Quicken token.
And we're going to Shadow of Ursa, banishing a yellow Rift Bind for 1 arcane and 2 physical. Oh, wait, no, we're not going to do that.
And I'm assuming we're looking to take a lot of this damage
We
here.
are going to start
Because
off
if we can get
with
lower and we can plunder on
pitching
Scar for
this
Scar and go into
They go
attacks
see
like
visit because that's going to pop the Quicken
Yep,
token.
I agree.
So 4 physical with go again.
that. 4 physical, go again. Is that a blue seeds?
That is a blue seed, so no
Okay,
arcane
so
right
no
now.
arcane trigger, that's fine. Take 4.
Okay. All right, now we're going to
The Ancestral Empowerment's really
Shadow of
interesting, and
Ursa,
possibly holding the
banishing
plunder
yellow
run
Rift Bind.
to throw in Arsenal for next
Um,
turn could be an option, but I don't know
so
how much
1
more we want to
arcane
gamble against
and
Chain.
2 physical with
Yeah,
go
it'll
again.
just come down to how much life we have at the end of this turn, I think.
Looks like I'll take 2 here, Dennis.
And the arcane.
And the Arcane.
Okay, so 3 total.
I actually don't have any no room, so
Yeah, I
if
know.
if that changes your play pattern.
No, it doesn't.
I shouldn't have given him the
I'm
inside
going
tip, but you know, he's the
to-
man.
Seeds, create a Soul Shackle,
He is showing a Rift Bind in
and then we're
Banish,
going
which could
to
be.
Rift Bind for 1 arcane, and then 3, 4, 5. Sorry, 2. So 4 physical and 1 arcane.
So Rift Bind for 5 here. I think we're just taking that one too. Did you Soul
Yep.
Shackle before this?
I did.
Okay, so he's got to go again. You have 1 floating?
Yep.
All right, I'm worried about another Consuming Volition coming through.
Didn't he soul shackle the ghostly visit?
Oh, did you Soul Shackle the Ghostly Visit?
I didn't. I had the Quicken token off of that.
That's right, yeah, Quick and Token,
Ah.
right.
Yep, you got me there.
All right,
Yeah, consuming volition is a little scary, but
yep, we'll take 5.
Okay.
So we are lower. It looks like he's ending the turn, or at least the combat chain. All right, so he does end the turn.
And I'll
Perfect.
take 1 to Blood Debt
Does take a blood debt.
and pass to you.
All right. So
all right. This hand's interesting in that it's not super good.
it does not feel super good. It almost feels like we Kadachi, try to get the draw off Mask Trigger. Maybe I'm just too in love with the Kadachi line.
It is broken up by a battle worn on the Grasp of the Arknight fairly easily.
Sure.
With that second Kadachi. That's the only thing I'm kind of afraid of here with that line. If we do that and he does block that second Kadachi, it's super unlikely we get to draw from Mask this turn, which I'd always like to do.
So single Kadachi, Scar for Scar. Single Kadachi, Scar
Yeah.
for Scar. Rising Knee Thrust and try to Ancestor. There's nothing.
So
If he throws, yeah, go ahead.
So there is a line where we can Kadachi pitching the Ancestral Empowerment, I think,
Okay.
and then Scar for a Scar. And if that hits, we can discard our Rising Knee Thrust to go get a Mugenshi release.
Okay, and start the combo in the middle.
Yeah, and then we need to use our Snapdragon Scalers on our Whelming Gust Wave to then play our Mugenshi release, pitching Plunder Run. It doesn't feel super good.
Okay.
That turn is only 11 damage, but it does threaten Lord of Wind and maybe gets a card out of his hand, which we are just always looking to do.
Okay.
If we can threaten him enough to where he thinks he must use a card, even though maybe he doesn't, because he doesn't know the power of our hand. We feel pretty good about that. So
is there any world where we just start with Scar for a Scar, see if he takes it, and then maybe we search and get part of a combo or anything like that?
yeah, I think there is some merit to that. I'm just trying to think of some other scenarios. If we start with Scar for a Scar, and then if it hits, then we have to play Whelming Gustwave,
Okay.
which is easily blocked by Grasp of the Arcanite.
But we do have the Ancestral.
We do have the Ancestral. That kind of changes my opinion a little bit.
So
I like your line then.
All right, let's give it a shot. If this blows up in my face, the entire internet's going to roast me for suggesting something to the coach. Scar for a Scar.
Or 4 go again?
4 go again. Do we trigger Katsu here?
No blocks.
We can dump. We can go get. We can dump the Rising Knee Thrust and maybe go get something.
Did he choose to take?
Yeah.
I think we dump the Ancestral Empowerment, I think.
Okay.
Oh, actually, we were going to use it on this block. The only thing is we have to pitch our Plunder Run if we discard our Rising Knee Thrust.
So maybe...
And in that case, I'd like to probably just dump the Plunder Run just to have more resources for the turn.
Well, we can also save Katsu too, right? See how he blocks.
We can.
We don't have to trigger Katsu yet. So let's... What do you think about...
I'd prefer to grab it now, though.
Okay.
Yeah, let's dump this Plunder Run and let's go get a Mugenshi release.
I'm gonna trigger Katsu. I'm gonna discard Plunder Run.
Yep.
I'm gonna grab a Mugenshi release.
Okay.
I think this turn is super complicated. If anyone in the comments has a line they like, I'd really like them to post it. I think there's a lot of discussion on this one turn specifically to be had. So
I think that's true as well. All right, so are we still following up with Whelming Gustwave?
Yep, I think so.
Whelming Gustwave here for 1. The expectation is he throws Grasp in front of this.
Yep, and we Ancestral Empowerment and Snapdragons.
Mm-hmm.
And that lets our Mugenshi
that doesn't have the special
threaten Lord of Wind and Mask, and hopefully gets a card.
Right, it's just
yes.
It's just going to power up Mugenshi.
Yes.
And at that point, it would have to be 2 cards from hand to stop because he no longer has Husk, and his headpiece only blocks for 1 currently.
So he takes 1 here. So we, I think we Ancestral. Do we Ancestral Empowerment anyway to draw the card, or do we wait? So hold it to make sure Mugenshi hits.
Yes.
I'll Snapdragon.
Okay.
It's Mugenshi just now, right?
Yep.
I'm sorry?
You must play them back to back to get that combo bonus.
All right, I'll play Mugenshi, pitching Rising Knee Thrust. That costs 2, correct? 1. 2 floating.
That's so it's coming in for 5, right?
Yes, so it's coming in for 5. Okay, so this is a very interesting line, and if we would have known he wasn't going to block this, this makes a lot of sense, but the Ancestral Empowerment does make it feel like even if he does block, he's kind of in a tough spot.
Yeah, Chain has a lot of 2 blocks. Seeds of Agony blocks for 2. Flock of the Featherwalkers blocks for 2. It's really likely he blocks for 5 here.
He's blocking for 7.
Okay. So normally a block for 6 would mean we could
block
Empowerment and
7.
Breaking skills to still climb over.
Yep.
But he is respecting that, us having the Ancestral Empowerment. Disrespecting Razor Reflex a little bit, but that's okay. You can't play around everything.
Right.
I feel super good about this so far. We've gotten 2 cards out of his hand. A Chain with 2 cards is really not that scary. I would like to turn this Ancestral Empowerment into something else and just waste this +1, I think.
Okay, so you're saying we Ancestral Empowerment anyway?
Yeah, if we draw another one, we can just get him.
Sure. Ancestral Empowerment, which you played around marvelously. I mean, we drew in to rise, and then we just drop.
So now we can attack with Kodachis.
We have how many? We have 2 pitch floating, right?
Correct. We can still threaten a mask trigger here.
Kodachi for 1.
I will take the 1.
Kodachi for 1.
And you should be out of pitch, I think.
That should be 3. The only thing that costs were the Magenchi release for 1, Harmon, and then both Kodachis. And that's a blue Rising Knee Thrust.
Yeah, you're probably right. Okay, I'll take the other one.
So now we're
All
looking to play this Rising Knee Thrust and threaten the
Yeah,
mask
if
trigger.
it hits, we can go get our mask trigger and draw another card for our arsenal.
Rising Knee Thrust for 3.
I'll take the 3.
Mask will trigger, and I'll draw.
Yeah, we can just arsenal that.
Your go, sir. So that turn felt like it started with a lot of nothing and turned into a lot of something. How frequently would you say that happened?
It does happen a lot, especially if you really think those turns over in your head before you play
Whiff on
anything.
the banishes.
If you really try to analyze where
Not
he's
gonna
going
be
to
good.
block and how likely it is he blocks, maneuvering those turns can turn them into really
Yep.
important turns. in the
I
game.
think that means you win.
And this hand is pretty strong.
And he did whiff on
Gonna
banishes.
Soul Shackle. We're gonna
So-
come in.
Yeah,
with
and
the
still only has
Shadow
2 cards in
Berserker
hand. This
for
is not
2.
a strong turn for Chain.
Take 2.
Okay. And then we're gonna come in with Nebula Blade for 1 hit, create a new burn chant.
So Nebula Blade for 1. I'm tempted to block here, but we have a full hand. I don't know if I want to get rid of that. So I think I just take the 1 here and let him create a rune chant.
Yeah, I think our mask is still valuable. That's the
I
only
think so,
thing
too.
I would maybe say not to block or what to block with.
Take 1.
But
Okay.
yeah,
I will
we're gonna give him a rune
take my
chant.
rune chant. And then I will take 1 to Blood Debt.
All right, he's gonna take 1 blood debt from his husk.
Yep.
And our
Pass
name
you.
of the game here is to get him to discard as many cards to block as possible.
Yep.
If we can depower another turn, it's very unlikely he lives.
So he does still have a grasp available. So I don't like the notion of going Kodachi just from what you've taught me so far. So what do you think about Kodachi Magenchi release with the Ancestral Empowerment backing it up, and then an Enlightened Strike for Mass Trigger on the stack with Go Again?
So we would need to, I like your plan. We just need to E-Strike first to give it Go Again. Genshi won't have Go Again.
You are correct. Yep. All right. So Kodachi, E-Strike, then Magenchi, you're thinking?
Yes, E-Strike with Go Again, and then follow up with Genshi.
Okay.
Alternatively, we E-Strike for
Thinking.
5,
Yep.
E-Strike for 7. But it doesn't use it uses all the cards in our hand, but doesn't make much use of our arsenal card because we can't use it on a non-ninja card.
Sure.
I think your line's better.
Okay. Well, my line once I understand how Kodachis work. Yes. Kodachi for 1.
Take 1.
And then we E-Strike for 5 here.
Correct.
Putting back the other E-Strike.
Yep.
E-Strike for 5.
5, draw a card, or 5, Go Again.
5, Go Again.
Okay.
2 float. So it looks like he's going to block.
Block 5.
He blocks 5 here, which is probably a good call because it turns off Mask.
Yep.
So we have 2 floating. We can other Kodachi and then Magenchi release.
Yep. I like that plan. Just get our damage in where we can.
for 1. Yeah.
Block 1.
Magenchi for 3.
You mean 4?
4.
I will take 4.
Ancestral.
Okay.
So doing the Ancestral there.
Sorry, what was he at before he took he blocked the Kodachi, right? So he's currently at 6.
Yes.
So we can just kill him with breaking scales here. Can't we?
Oh yeah, Dennis. Are you currently at 6 with McGenchi coming at you?
Yeah, I just lose because the
Yeah,
breaking scales.
because breaking scales, right? I forgot
Yeah.
breaking scales was a thing.
Yeah.
I was thinking my whole line there was we use the Ancestral rather than hold it because we put him at 1, we force him to, he must win this turn. Was my
Right.
thought, but with breaking scales, yes.
Yeah, you just win. Yeah.
All right, absolutely. GG's. So what did you think of? So again, Derek and I were talking through a lot of lines. So Dennis, let's get this clear. Dennis is at a massive disadvantage. Not only is he playing against the champ in Derek, but we've got 2 brains kind of going at the same problem. So well thought, Dennis. Way to play.
I thank you.
Derek, what would you have in mind as far as how that was played? Anything that should have been done differently, or things I should focus on in this next game?
I think all of our analysis was super well detailed, well thought out. I think there are some slight variations in some of those turns, as we discussed, that are just kind of up to player preference. So, but I think the game ended up very well. Obviously, we won at 11. That's a huge accomplishment against one of the scariest decks in the format.
Absolutely.
So I feel good about it.
So again, I just want to thank you for your time, Derek. This is just extremely beneficial, guys. In the YouTube comments, if you want to see more styles like this, where we take top tier players and players that really know what they're doing and have them walk through thought processes, it's a little more in-depth content. If you guys are loving this, let us know in the comments below. We would love to have Derek back. We'd love to have Ethan back, have Dennis on some of his decks coaching us through some of this stuff. So let us know what you think. And Derek, any final thoughts here?
No, just thanks for having me. I hope you'll all be interested in some Aggro Katsu. Maybe you can check out my article.
Yes, that will be in the description, as we mentioned before. And then also, where can they find you? Do you want people being able to contact you? Do you have social medias or anything like that you use? I know a lot of people don't.
Yeah, nothing super public yet.
Okay.
Maybe I will in the future. Who knows?
Well, when you do, we'll make sure to feature it right here at Hometown TCG. But
Appreciate it.
Thank you very much, guys. And until next time, you guys know how the outro goes, right? Until next time, I'm Josh.
I'm Dennis.
And
I'm Derek.
And I'm Derek. There you go. And we'll see you guys around. Take it easy.